Hello, my name is Lekimeo, and welcome to the spoiler review of Spider-Man No Way Home. So if you have not yet seen Spider-Man No Way Home, I urge you, I beg you to click away from this video. Go watch Markiplier or PewDiePie or something. This movie is something one should really experience for themselves. Because there's just so many epic things that happen. And a sad thing. But we'll get to that. Alright. So, I'm just gonna talk about what I thought of the film first, and then the Easter egg talk and spoiler talk will start, since it's a review. Going into No Way Home, I knew it was going to be a pretty dark and brutal Spider-Man entry. The directors were boasting it. Kevin Feige, the head, was boasting it. Tom Holland was flat out saying it was not fun. And he even left the theater crying. My boy. And, Marissa Tomei had to talk to her therapist after the movie. So, lots to unpack. Let's talk Easter eggs first, cameos, yada. Alright, so if you've followed me for a long time, you know I am a huge Spider-Man fan. Huge Marvel fan even, but mostly Spidey. He's been my favorite superhero since I was able to talk. I had Spidey everything. I had a Spidey blanket, Spidey pillow, I had a Spidey chair. I was a Spidey fan. And going into this movie, it is definitely for super fans, but also for fans of the MCU. People were all wondering why Doctor Strange would do such a thing. The kid Peter's life took a turn after his identity was revealed to the world. You see a little bit of that when you see the trailer, and you also see a lot of that in the movie. But so Doctor Strange does this for Peter because he feels like the kid's been through enough. That's about it. And shots in the trailer that aren't in the movie. Doctor Strange winking at Pete. Not in the film. Doctor Strange is no longer the Sorcerer Supreme due to the blip, which I still like to call the decimation because it just sounds so much cooler. And because the blip sounds exactly like something people in the MCU would call it. So, yeah, Doctor Strange is no longer the Sorcerer Supreme. That was a shock for me and my buddy Alan, and I think Chris as well. I don't know. I was really more or less gauging my best friend's reaction to the film, because he hasn't really been as much a Marvel fan as me for as long. I just got him into it, really. And it took a minute. It took a minute to get him interested and excited for these kinds of things. So, now that I have, it's an accomplishment on my part. Sorry, guys, give me a second. Fuck. YouTubing problems. Alright. Charlie Cox, Daredevil. He is in this movie. And it's as you'd expect, it's not a pretty big role. It's really more of a cameo. But in this cameo, it's pretty clear that he is Daredevil still in this universe. And I still stand by my theory that I've always figured that the MCU films and the MCU Netflix shows were canon to each other. Because, in Daredevil, one of the first episodes, they start talking about the incident, which was, Battle of New York. And you always got little Easter eggs from that. And a lot of people were theorizing exactly what Charlie Cox's role in the movie would be, and it is exactly as you would think. It is as Daredevil. God damn it! It's as Spider-Man's lawyer. A rock is thrown through a window, or a brick. Something about Mysterio is thrown through the window, and Charlie Cox catches it. And Pete's like, "How'd you do that?" And Matt just says, I'm a good lawyer. I'm like, damn good lawyer. So, yeah, Charlie Cox is in the film, and it's pretty cool that he was, even in just such a small role. And Vincent D'Onofrio in Hawkeye. That was a cool thing to see. And I can't wait to see Hawkeye's conclusion on Saturday now, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 4 days. In 4 days, we get the conclusion to the Hawkeye series. Can't wait. But this is about Spider-Man No Way Home. The way they handled the villains in this film without ruining some of their arcs, like Doc Ock, everyone was so worried about how they would handle his revival. He was not plucked from the river. He's not plucked from the river. He's plucked from, I guess, the moment he had his hands around Tobey Spider-Man's neck. And then he was here. It's what he says. Green Goblin, it's revealed that he did die, but yeah, it was very weird. It was a very weird explanation. I think my favorite one was Electro because it is still kept with the Amazing Spider-Man mythos. He was like, I was about to become pure energy. Oh shit. I was about to die. And Lizard, I know I theorized that this lizard was actually going to be Tobey's lizard. Because, Andrew's was so damn different. And, no, it's still the same lizard from Andrew's universe. Sandman, which was, let's be honest, we didn't know if it was going to be played by Thomas Hayden Church, like in the Spider-Man 3, or if it was just going to be something else. The first time you see Sandman, he is protecting Peter Parker, who he thinks is his Pete. Enough said there. But even from the outline when he's in his humanoid-ish form, you can tell it's Thomas Hayden Church. And it's his voice. Reese Ifman, or however, Reese, who played Lizard, reprises his role as Kurt Connors. And it's just so cool to me. Alright, this movie had a lot of ups and downs. It made me laugh. It made me cry. Multiple times. That shot in the trailer of rain, Tom Holland's bruised ass face, and just sadness. People theorize it was because he lost something. Oh boy. Okay. Spider-Man, before I even get there, actually, hold on. The fight between Doctor Strange and Spider-Man is so visually pleasing. Like, if you thought the Doctor Strange movie had some pleasing shots, this one had some pretty pleasing shots as well. It was so cool, the fight, how Peter used his brain to beat Doctor Strange. Because the mirror dimension in Doctor Strange is pretty basically geometric, and Peter figures this out. He's like, "Wait, this is basically geometry. You're great at geometry." And so he devises a plan to trap Strange, take his sling ring, and the sling ring will be important later, and take the sling ring and just end the box, obviously, and leave Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension for most of the movie. Peter tries to save the people that supposedly die by his hand, the other Spider-Man's hands. They start with Doc Ock with the microchip, and as soon as that microchip is plugged in, he's Doc Ock is back to normal. He's his normal little self before the arms took control of his mind, which was so nice. Then Pete's spider sense starts going off, and I love how in this film he's really actually using his spider sense. Like before, it was kind of just like a offhanded thing. Like sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes it just wasn't there at all. The suspense I felt when all the fucking... Listen, I also had D-box seats, so I felt the suspense more than maybe anyone else in the theater, aside from other people in D-box seats. During that Spider-Sense scene, that Spider-Sense part, the seats were vibrating like crazy. And the suspense of it all was so damn tense, because Peter's trying to figure out who's the bad guy in the situation, who's trying to do something. And lo and behold, it's Norman Osborn, aka Green Goblin, aka my least favorite villain of this film. I loved Green Goblin in the Tobey Maguire movies, but I'll get into why I hate him in this one. He was an awesome villain in Spider-Man. He was an awesome villain in Spider-Man, and I just feel like no one could have ever matched him. Peter gets into a fight with the Sinister Five. Sorry, Sinister Four, because, Doc Ock ain't a part of that shit. Sorry, give me a minute. Just thinking about it breaks my heart. The first "we attack his heart" line from Spider-Man in 2002. Listen. That line comes full circle in this one. In the villains panel, Willem Dafoe says says Green Goblin has more of a case to state this time, a philosophy to leave upon the world. A world of winners and losers. World of power, non-power. In the movie, Peter's losing to Goblin. Tom is losing to Goblin, and Aunt May comes in clutch with the Osborn serum. Sadly, it didn't work. And, Goblin throws a bomb. They survive. But then Goblin sends his glider right through a fucking window. Right into May. She seems fine, but she's not. I don't know what line is more heartbreaking for a final line. I don't know if it's okay or I just need to catch my breath is worse. It's the most heartbreaking thing I have ever seen. Not only because May was just such an important part of the Homecoming movies, though she wasn't really in most of them, much of them. She was in the entire she was in all three. She had scenes in all three. She was in all three, and she had such a role. But before May dies, before we find out she's dying, we finally get the line, "With great power comes great responsibility." Didn't come from Uncle Ben, but I don't think people cared. I definitely didn't. I just was happy that the line was finally being said. Then she starts to stumble. And it's just the tone of the movie just shifts from there. It's heartbreaking, it's brutal, it's dark. Bringing me to one of my many favorite parts of the film. When I say a fan theory was hit on the head, I mean it. Exactly word for word. Ned had the sling ring. He and MJ worried about Peter after, May's death. So he's like, I wish we could see Peter. And starts happening from the ring. And so they try again, and the first Spider-Man to come out of a portal is Andrew Garfield's. When I tell you the octaves and the fucking volume of clapping and cheering that went on in my theater during this scene was endgame levels. Endgame levels. Even more so when Toby appears. And he's not in a spider suit. They get him at kind of a bad time. But he still has his suit on him, as always. So, these Toby Spider-Man and Andrew Spider-Man are here to help, is what they say. I'm here to help your friend. Is there any... So they ask MJ and Ned if there's any place that he would go to feel alone and just with his thoughts. MJ says, "Yeah, I know a place." And the next scene takes place on the rooftop of the school at the beginning of the movie. And Peter's broken. I don't think I've ever seen a more broken Peter Parker than I had in No Way Home. I'm sure he'd been down and out before, but this felt different. Before I continue, the cinematography on the scene after May's death, where James Gordon is on James Gordon. Did I say James Gordon earlier too? I said James Gordon earlier too. Oh shit. No. J. Jonah Jameson. Fuck, I forgot the name for a second. He's talking about the casualties of the building, and there's only one dead. Now I'm gonna get back to the rooftop scene. Peter's not doing so hot. He just lost his aunt because of a mistake he made in trying to help the people from a different universe. Don't know why I'm looking at my wallet. And that was just the direct cause of May's death. And so Ned and MJ find him. They give him a nice little hug. They say someone's here, that there are some people here. And automatically Tom gets into fighting stance. He's like, it's almost like a come at me. But it's just Toby and Andrew are just very understanding. And they're like, we're sorry about May. If you've seen the film, I don't have to say all this shit. I need to say it because context. And I'm trying to stretch this out into like maybe a 23-minute video. Not even 23 minutes. I'm at 20 minutes right now. And before we continue, I know I'm not very advanced as a YouTuber. I don't have a fancy green screen that I can just put images of Spider-Man No Way Home on, or Toby or Andrew. I don't have cool editing to where I can have me talking 1 second and then a shot of Toby or something from the movies. I can't do that. I wish. But no, you just get me raw, uncut, no edits. Back to it. Pete, the three Spider-Men start trading tales of heartbreak when they became Spider-Man. Toby talking about his Uncle Ben's death being the moment he became Spider-Man, and Andrew talking about Gwen Stacy, which we finally get a look at as to how he dealt with that. At some point, we find out from Andrew that at one point he's stopped being that after Gwen's death. He tried being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man still, but he just got bitter and he stopped pulling his punches. And then we cut to the next scene where they're plotting how to cure Norman and Electro and the Lizard and Sandman. The Sinister Four, really. And we get a nice little talk about web shooters, kind of. Twice, actually. But we'll get to that. So, they make the, obviously we start with Andrew saying, I've treated comics before, I got this one. And, Toby just says, I've got Dr. Osborn. I've been thinking about this for years. Not because he wishes he could have saved him in his movies, but because of what that death directly did to his best friend Harry. And then Peter just has Ned work on some computer thing. Fans will tell you when this movie comes out on DVD and Blu-ray and digital and 4K that the most iconic scene in this movie is when all three Spider-Men are suited up and running and jumping off of a scaffolding together. Yes, it is. They talk about on the scaffolding of the Statue of Liberty. They do actually talk about web shooters and web fluid. with Toby saying it's not like I don't do breathing. It just happens. Sorry, I'm still not recovered from the film. I'm still very upset about May. They actually hit the balls. They cure Sandman, Electro, and Lizard. But you know what you know what time it is. It's time for an up close and personal fight between Tom's Pete and Goblin. I have never seen Spider-Man more brutal. You could just feel the anger and rage and the sadness in every single one of those punches. Every hit. You felt the grief, you felt the loss. I was actually crying because of all of this. Not because of, I mean, the scene was beautiful, of course. They were fighting on a fucking Captain America's shield for the Statue of Liberty, and when Peter picked up that fucking glider, for a split second, I had hoped that glider would go through Norman. Same way he died last time, just in a different world. But Tom acted this out beautifully. Toby Spider-Man jumps down and stops Tom from doing the glider. And he gets him to put the glider down, but then he gets stabbed by Norman. The amount of resounding gasps, including my own. Like, are they gonna kill Toby? No, they're not gonna kill Toby. He's been stabbed before. But, while Toby's stabbed, Andrew throws the, Norman Osborn Cure 2.0, and Peter just jams it in his neck. Easter egg wise, there are a shit ton in the next scene I'm going to talk about, but I would have to go see that movie multiple times before I can point out every single villain I saw. I can point out 3. I saw Rhino, I saw Scorpion, and I saw Kraven. Only those 3. We knew by the end of the film that Peter's identity would be safe. But we didn't know how. Peter, finally understanding what it means to be Spider-Man, realizes he has to let go of those he loves. He tells Strange to do the spell. Oh, right, getting ahead of myself. During the curing of the lizard, Doctor Strange reappears and basically takes the sling ring and the box back from Ned and MJ. Somehow Goblin lodges a bomb into the box and it just explodes, creating that rift that you will see in the that you see in the trailers. Now we're gonna get back to where I was. So Doctor Strange is trying to close these, but he can't. Excuse me. Sorry. Hope you didn't hear that. Or that. Peter realizing there's only one way to save the city and just save this part of the multiverse. He has to let the spell go without any fixings to it whatsoever. Everyone forgets. So Doctor Strange lets him go say his last goodbyes. He goes to say goodbye to his Spider Bros. And it's just a scene I absolutely loved. It was just so heartwarming, and the hug that they shared was so sweet. As Tom walks away, they're all smiling, and Andrew's like, "You're in a lot of pain, aren't you?" Toby's like, "Oh yeah." This was the third time I cried in this film. Oh shit, you guys want to know if MJ was saved? Yes, she was. Not by Tom's. He tried, but the glider got in the way. But no, my boy Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, he saved her, redeeming himself for the Gwen thing. I cried a lot during this film, especially during this scene, because even when he's caught her, he's looking down at her to make sure she's actually okay, and he's crying. I'm like, oh, redemption! I yelled it. I'll get better at making reviews in the in the future. This is like honestly my first full-fledged review. So I'm just gonna keep going. Back to the whole Ned and MJ goodbye. Alright, so this was probably the most heartbreaking scene in the movie for me. No, the most heartbreaking was definitely Aunt May. They had the balls. Watching Tom Holland's Peter say goodbye to his friends, because they're going to forget who he is entirely, not just as Spider-Man, but as Peter Parker. It put a wrench through it wrenched me a little bit. My heart was hurting. Especially the chemistry these three share on screen and in real life. The acting they put into it is just beautiful. So Doctor Strange does a spell, and Peter is gone. Peter will visit his Aunt May's grave. Happy will be there. And he asks her how he knew her, and she's like, through Spider-Man. You? Same. He tries to go to the donut shop where MJ works and reintroduce himself to Ned and MJ, but as soon as he gets the courage, MJ does this with her hair, revealing a band-aid from the cut that she sustained while on the Statue of Liberty, and it's more like a, no, I can't do this to them again. So he puts it away and he walks out. Like I said, a lot of people think that the most iconic scene from the movie is definitely the three Spider-Men suiting up, and it is. It's pretty cool. But nothing compares to the brand new classic comic accurate suit that Tom Holland dons for the final swing. It's got a little bit of homage to his Spider Bros suits, but it's so sleek. It's all cloth. It's not techie at all. It's sewed together. It's sewn together. It's made, not through a fancy computer, but by Peter. And it's come a long way since the homemade suit in Homecoming, or Civil War, then Homecoming. Mid-credit scene. Uh, Mid-credit scene. Pretty much was Venom. Really, it was Eddie and Venom, and they're talking about everything that's happened in the MCU to this one guy in Mexico. And the symbiote's left behind, so you just know that the symbiote's gonna play a very big story in the future of the MCU. End credit scene. A full-ass Doctor Strange 2 trailer. Beautiful. Now look, this is really my first full-fledged movie review, so it was kind of choppy and all over the place and unorganized. But in the future, they'll be a bit more sophisticated, organized, in order, really. I just could not go another day without talking about this film to my fan base. And if you did watch, despite having not seen the movie, I hope this does not keep you from seeing the movie. This is the this is the best Spider-Man movie ever. And Into the Spider-Verse was a hit, so that's saying something. They had the balls to kill May, which was heartbreaking, but so were her final words. I've heard some gut-wrenching final words in the past. From Yensid talking about his family because they've been dead, and he's finally going to go see them. To Loki. Frigga, Heimdall. Happy was originally supposed to die in Iron Man 3. That would have been pretty heartbreaking. That would have sucked. Who else has died in the MCU? No, I can't think of anyone else. Oh, Tony, obviously, but you know, this movie only had one casualty, and that was May Parker. I'm excited to see what they do in the future of the MCU for Spidey and more. But I also am scared. Because it was 2 years ago, Sony and Disney had a fight over Spider-Man. And had they not reached an agreement, we wouldn't have this amazing movie. Watching that movie, I felt like, during the Toby scenes, I felt like I was back in 2007 watching my Spider-Man. Watching the Andrew scenes, I felt like I was in 2012 watching my third favorite Spider-Man. And I know Tom Holland. Listen, Toby will always be my Spider-Man, but he is not my favorite anymore. It is Tom Holland. This movie, man, it's a masterpiece. It deserves to be seen. It's ambitious on an epic scale on a scale that of Avengers Endgame. We knew nothing about this film before a couple months ago. and now it's out. It's here, and it's beautiful. And fuck, I love this movie so much. If I could go see it every day until it hits DVD, Blu-ray, and digital, I fucking would. But I don't have that type of money to go see a movie every damn day. I'm stalling because I wanted Norman dead after Aunt May's death, after they killed Aunt May, but I'm glad they didn't. Because that's not who Spider-Man is. Spider-Man does not kill. He's someone who, no matter how hard the fall, no matter what he's going through, he will always get back up and have a smile on his face. That is Spider-Man. And I just wish I wish Stan Lee was alive to see this, to see his best creation in this installment. Because it's fucking beautiful. I'm trying not to cry. I'm not out of sadness, but out of pure joy. It is the best. It is perfect in every way. Stunning. And I am now a fan. And I am a huge fan of the new suit that they have at the end of this movie for the final swing. When you see the movie, you will know what I'm talking about. That final swing is the best final swing I have ever seen in a Spider-Man movie. Where most Spider-Man movies end with a funeral scene. Tom Holland's never did. And they still haven't. I wish they had ended with May's funeral. Just give that character a proper send-off instead of just having her, giving her a grave at the end of the movie. I just need to catch my breath. Oh, and if you're a fan of the Spider-Man PS4 game, I don't know if Aunt May said this in the comics. I haven't read the comics in a really long time. But on May Parker's tombstone, it says, if you help someone, you help everyone. And I just remember seeing that in the, I remember that being a big thing in Spider-Man PS4. Her death, that Aunt May's death in that game, I cried playing it the first time. And you guys saw me play it on the channel, but that wasn't my first time playing the game. Because it was New Game Plus, I had everything I had from the previous playthrough from the previous year ago. The Aunt May death that broke my heart more was definitely the one in No Way Home. Because she didn't know what was going on. She didn't know what was going on. I don't know if it was shock. I don't know if it was the shock or if it was just... And Tom just acted that scene to perfection. We'll miss Aunt May in the MCU and in the Spider-Man movies, but it makes sense for the story. It makes sense for the character development of Tobey. No, fuck. I keep saying Tobey. Of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And Tom. Another thing. Tom no longer has to get the Stark suit, so at the end of the movie, he has a a police scanner on his phone that he listens to kind of try to find crime. Which I think is just going to be great. So I hope you guys enjoyed this very first ever full-fledged Spider-Man No Way Home movie review. I know it was choppy and it was all over the place and it was all out of order, but thank you for watching anyway. Leave a like down there if you want to see more stuff like this. Leave a comment with what you thought of the movie if you've seen it. I'll obviously upload a spoiler-free review as well for those of you who haven't seen the movie, where I can talk about it very, very vaguely. Thank you guys so much for watching. I promise to have gaming content on here soon, sometime soon. I don't know when, but I'm trying. I'm fucking trying. So until next time, my name is Lucky Mayo, and I'm signing off.